think you're on the way, but you're not just about there. You're not there, because I really don't think that. And then also there's that other side of things. Well, does she have to be there? Because can't she just continue to develop? Obviously, when she gets into that role of an AP, as a permanent AP. Does that make?
So if I hear a couple of things in that, I'm wondering about the initial, I guess, problem that you identified, which was that you didn't come straight out and say no. And then I'm wondering what it is in that you've sort of tussled with on your own reflection. And then the other thing I can hear in that is that you've identified that there's some, maybe that your own growth around coaching, mentoring is something that might lead to to a solution around that conversation.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think that there's a couple of things there. Is it the conversation that challenged you? Or is it that you are looking at yourself as a catalyst to be able to change, I guess, the conversation, or the conversation was the catalyst that led you to start thinking about, are you strong enough? Do you not want to offend someone? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Possibly quality to be able to then refer her on to offer her to somebody else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I think we've jumped around a little bit, and no, it's good. And I'm just trying to really hone in on the issue here. And I think, what I'm hearing is that you don't think she's ready, and that you weren't clear with her, letting her know that you didn't feel that she wasn't ready. And I'm going to come back to this question. Ready for who? Or ready for what?
That's I suppose that's where I'm wondering about, is it my expectation that herself?
So I think we're probably, after teasing all this out, we've come to some elements of practice here, which is around a difficult conversation.
I think maybe on both, yeah.
And I've heard that there is a level of frustration with this particular staff member who struggles with difficult conversations. And I'm actually wondering how well it's been modelled for her.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Because they're not necessarily around when there's other difficult, like if I'm having a challenging conversation, they're not necessarily in the room or listening. It's usually when they're in the classroom. When we're having conversations with peers, it's not necessarily, it's always been that confidential realm, like the staff that she supervises are quite difficult staff and won't have anyone else in the room, there's a lack of level of respect, I think, from those other staff members to her. So I think that that changes, yeah.
Okay, I'll frame that question another way. I want you to think about your actions with her. How well have you demonstrated a willingness to take on a difficult conversation with her? Something that you might find challenging.
As in the conversation that relates to her, or around my own practice?
Both.
Yeah, I feel like I've been pretty open in the sense of what a conversation might look like. I feel like I probably haven't modelled so much. In a sense, I haven't said let's have this conversation with another member of staff, or let's go and have this. That's probably something that I haven't modelled a great amount of time to her, but I will certainly talk it through with her. I'll unpack it what I think it would look like, and we have the conversation together. So I'll pretend that I'm the staff member, and she'll pretend that she'll do her role, and we'll talk about what that would sound like or look like, and what elements, you know. So I would model it in that sense, but not in the third person, as in having an extra person in there that's the staff member involved. Make sense? So opportunities to be able to model for her are generally between the two of us. But then I think some of the stuff we just do, we do, and I'm not thinking whether, was I modelling that just then for how to approach that conversation, or was I, it's just what we do.
What do you think she sees when you're modelling?
I think that the feedback that they provide me is always like positive. They always unpack whatever I've done. They can unpack and they can see where I've addressed or been strategic in the way I've had the conversation.
I'm going to ask you the same question.
Please, yeah.
What do you think she sees when you model?
As in that I'm her leader, or what do you ask me? What are you asking me? What does she see, as in skill set, or as in what does she see personality wise, or?
Yeah, all that. What does she see from you? What does she see in you when you model this for her?
I hope to think that she sees someone who's very strong. I hope to think that she sees someone who is calm, sensible. If I feel like I'm very consistent.
Does she see that?
I think she would. I think most of my exec would. I don't have different agendas for different staff or different scenarios. I feel like I'm very consistent.
What doesn't she see?
I've never got upset to hear the conversation. I wasn't, I don't.
So is that about your expectations or about the control?
I think there's a line between both. Bit of column A and bit of column B, perhaps.
What's the risk if she gets it wrong?
The risk is that it falls back on me. Sorry, me. That I have to clean up the mess. Like that's. I want them to make the mistakes. I want them to make the errors. I want them to. Yeah, I do. Yeah. But I also want them to be able to face the music if it does, and me not clean up on the, behind the scenes for them.
Who does that rest with?
Me at the end of the day. Doesn't it?
You tell me.
Me, because that's what.
I'm just going to review this, bring this back. You've talked about doing a good job. You've talked about doing a disservice to people if you don't do a good job. The thing I want to leave you with is, by mopping up after some of your middle leaders that haven't done a good job, are you doing them a disservice?
Yeah.
And what could you do to change that? Is it easier in the long run?
Oh, look, I don't know. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, I suppose. Depends on how much energy I've got for the day, Andrew. How much I'm willing to expel for the day, Yeah, and look, I need them to feel the fear and feel the failure and pick up the pieces. I know that. I know that they need to understand that that's their growth, and it's not personal. It's not that I'm asking them to do this because I personally want them to feel challenged because that man's a horrible man to deal with, but you know, that's your job.